Continue.
All right. Radhe Radhe. Good morning, good evening, everyone. Thank you, Harishji and Smitaji, for a wonderful session. A very warm welcome to all of you. Let's get started. Today, we are going to get into the answer of the question that Arjun had posed to Lord Krishna yesterday. He asked a very important question that even though we may be aware that something is not right or maybe sinful, but there seems to be some kind of an impelling force which makes us do things. And what is that? And today, Lord Krishna is going to answer that in his inimitable style. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So let me share my screen. We will get started by invoking the blessings of God and Guru. Today, we have a hard stop at 10, so we'll pace it accordingly. So give me a sec. Let me know when you're able to see my screen. Again, a very warm welcome to all of you. I hope you're able to see my screen.
Ji.
All right, let's get started then. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. All right, Radhe Radhe, good morning, good evening again to all of you. So let's get started. So as part of the response to Arjun's question, today we take up 3.37 and get started. So I'm going to recite it and you're welcome to follow along. Shri Bhagavanu Vacha Kama Esha Krodha Esha Rajo Guna Samudbhavaha Mahashano Mahapapma Vidyenam Iha Vairinam. All right, whom do we have?
Rahul bhai, Radhe Radhe.
Rahul.
Radhe Radhe. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Kama Esha Krodesha Rajoguna Samudbhavaha Mahashano Mahapatma Vidhem Nihvaridam. Jai Shri Ram.
Radhe Radhe.
Sandhya, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe Sandhya.
Radhe Radhe. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Kam Esha Krodh Esha Rajoguna Samudbhavaha Mahashano Mahapapma Vidyenam Iha Vairinam.
Very nice. Thank you, Sandhya.
Dinesh ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Dinesh ji.
Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Kama Esha Krodha Esha Rajoguna Samudbhavaha Mahasano Mahapapma Vidyena Miha Vairinam. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe Dinesh ji.
Surya Prakash ji, Radhe Radhe. Surya Prakash ji.
SSPG, please go ahead.
Nitinji, good morning. Radhe Radhe. Sri Bhagavan Vacha Kamayesha Krodayesha Rajo Guna Samudbhavaha Mahashano Mahapapma Vijjena Miha Vairinam.
Wonderful, very nice. Thank you, SSPG. All right, Pallavi ji is going to recite today.
Pallavi ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Kama Esha Krodha Esha Rajoguna Samudbhavaha Mahashano Mahapapma Vidhyena Miha Vairinam.
Wonderful, very nice, Palviji. All right, last but not the least, Payalji, please go ahead.
राधे राधे
राधे राधे
Radhe Radhe.
श्रीभगवानुवाच काम एष क्रोध एष रजोगुणसमुद्भवः महाश्नो महापाप्मा विद्येन मिहिवेरिणम्. राधे राधे.
Wonderful, very nice, Payalji. Radhe Radhe. So let's get started. In this shloka, in response to Arjun's question, Lord Krishna is saying, the Supreme Lord said, it is lust alone which is born of contact with the mode of passion and later transformed into anger. Know this as the sinful, all-devouring enemy in the world. So, what he's saying is, it is lust. And when lust comes in contact with the mode of passion, it gets transformed into anger. So it's okay, we'll get into that. In fact, it reminds me another shloka, I think it's 2.62, which talks about dhyato vishyan punsa sangaste shubhajayate sangat sanjayate kama kamat krodho vijayate. There also is saying that when material senses come in contact with the material subjects, then it gives rise to kam, which is lust. Lust is not related to sensual desires alone, as we will see the deeper meaning of it. And then when that happens, it leads to anger. Of course, it leads to desire and anger both. There's a process that follows, but that is the root cause of that. And in this shloka, he's reiterating that all devouring enemy. And today, he's going to explain it why it is so powerful. Okay, because it is a distorted reality or a perverted reality. Perverted or distorted means which is further away from the actual truth, which gets transformed. So it's like when milk comes in contact with lactobacillus, it becomes curd. Similarly, when the lust, it comes in contact with the rajoguna, the mode of passion, it gets transformed into, something which is all devouring, which is anger. So let's talk about this topic now. So yesterday we discussed about the topic. We'll have a quick recap on it. Today we are going to talk about this perverted reflection and what makes it so powerful. We'll touch upon that aspect. Okay. So let's do a quick recap. So yesterday we spoke about this concept that what makes one succumb to attachment and aversion, right? And he responded, and he's explaining that this is the force which is preventing us from reaching the highest ideal, the aspirational state. Okay? And today he's going to talk about that concept. So we also saw that, all the things that are non-virtuous, which is commonly accepted as non-virtuous, regardless of whether you believe in God or not, there is something that tells us intuitively, almost intuitively, that something is not right. So we spoke about that concept of inner voice or conscience yesterday. And we also saw that, this voice of conscience is something that is basically grounded in the fact that we are part of eternal fragmental parts of God himself, who is the abode of virtues. So there is an innate, inherent attraction for virtue and goodness in everyone, regardless of what you are doing. You may not be doing it yourself, but you expect that from others. When others do that to you, you're not happy. You don't say it's okay because I do it. If somebody else does it to me, I'm fine. You still feel bad about it. You make even cry foul around it. Okay. So there is an innate desire for that. Now, let's get started with today's topic. So Vedas, basically, they use the word kam or lust. It's not only for sensual or sexual desires only. It also includes all desires for material enjoyment based on the bodily concept of the self. So it's a pretty expanded definition. Okay, that's the first thing that needs to be understood. So anything that is related to material enjoyment, and when it comes to material enjoyment, what do we seek enjoyment for? We seek enjoyment for body and the derivatives of body, which is our senses. Senses is our interface with the world. Right? We are Gyan Indriyas, and our Gyan Indriyas are absorbing its objects of interest. Right? Eyes say, go watch this. Ears say, go hear this. Tongue says, go taste this. Skin says, go feel it or touch it. So all the senses are driving us. And when we go after those gratifications, that is born out of this thing which is called calm or lust. Okay, everything that is operating at a bodily level. So it has an expanded definition around that. And lust shows itself in many ways. What are the different ways? It could be the urge for money, physical cravings, craving for prestige, drive for power, power, prestige, money, money, power, fame, all that stuff, right? So these are all derivatives of calm that Lord Krishna is talking about. Anything where we have an urge, impulsive urge to go after any of these things, they are categorized in this category only. Okay, they are bracketed under calm or lust. Okay, so this is the expanded definition. Now let's get into the mechanics of it a little bit. So this is our identity, the soul. Now soul, if you look at it, if you take fish out of water, what would it crave for? When you take fish out of water, it would crave for water. Right? Similar to that, if we are an eternal fragmental part of God, what would we crave for? We would crave for the source where we have come from, the perfect thing, which is called divine love. Till the day we get divine love, our soul will say, I need more. I'm still not satisfied. Through our life experience, we understand it. If we think deeply about it, we will understand. No matter what we have gotten in our lives, we will still feel something is still missing. Okay, something is still missing, and scriptures are telling us that something is still missing will continue even if you get everything in this world, even if you go to the next celestial abodes, which is 1,000 times more happiness ability that you have. Even if you go to all the 7 abodes, becoming the king of all the celestial abodes, Indra, or for that matter, all the way up to Pitrilok and Satyalok, which is Brahmalok, that living on 99, which is like, okay, one more run and then I'll be happy, will continue, no matter what you do. Because until we get divine love, this craving will continue. Now, is it possible for us to get divine love in the material world? Okay, so Ramayana says, and our scriptures say that it may be possible to extract oil out of sand. It may be possible to grow grass on top of a tortoise shell. It may be possible to pass a camel through the eye of a needle. It may be possible to extract milk out of rock. But to extract divine love out of this material world is impossible. It doesn't have the ability. Material world is material, right? Something which is material is incapable of providing something which is divine. It's a very simple principle. Now, if that is not possible and our research or search or quest is continuing to be in this world, what happens? What drives us? We have 3 gunas: mode of ignorance, mode of passion, and mode of sattva. So mode of passion or mode of rajas is an important mode because that propels us to action. All the leaders, world leaders, all the personalities who perform great deeds in life, mode of passion is very important. That propels us to action. And in this case also, because we are seeking that perfect love or that perfect happiness or that perfect joy, peace, whatever we want to call it, or maybe a cocktail of all of it, because we are not getting it, it keeps on propelling us to action. We will do activities so that we can get it. What is driving us? Mode of passion. Rajas. Rajas is driving us. So now what happens? Because of this Rajas, now you are associating with material energy. Rajas is not directed towards doing Purusharth for attaining God. This Rajas is directed towards material activities to get that perfect feeling that our soul is inherently craving for. So now all that action, all that effort is directed towards material energy, because that's what is in front of us. That's what our our society tells us, our knowledge tells us, our intellect tells us, our mind tells us. So now, because we are associating with material energy in the form of the body, now this divine love, that milk has come in contact with lactobacillus. Same analogy, think of it that way. Okay, now what happens? This basically divine love gets transformed into lust. Now you crave for it. I need this because this thing is going to make me happy. Okay, because now you are in the mode of passion. You are propelled into action to get that particular thing or an object. So, in a way, if you look at it, this is a derivative or a perverted reflection of divine love only. Because divine love is so powerful, if we get divine love today, we will get intoxicated. In fact, we will disintegrate. We don't even have the ability to hold that. We need a very pure vessel and a lot of spiritual, what you call that, bank balance to be able to hold it. If somebody gives us even a drop of it, we will be like as if somebody has had, I don't know how many steroids or tequila shots or something like that, just a little bit of it. And if God and Guru were to pour that into our vessel today, we will disintegrate. We cannot take happiness beyond a point. Similarly, we can't even take pain beyond a point. So that's God's design, Brahmaji's design of saving us from two extremes. So why it is so powerful? If you look at it, it is the divine love, which is a very, very powerful feeling. Okay, only when we are eligible will God give it to us. Because we are not getting it, equally powerful on the other side is the lust, on the material side, because it is a poor or a perverted reflection of the same feeling which we are not getting. Now it is manifesting in form of lust, coming in contact with the rajas gun or the mode of passion in the material world. So this is a formula. Divine love, you bring it in contact with rajas, because divine love, we are not yet tasted it, but we are inherently craving for it. Soul is telling us, no, I need something more, I need something more, I need something more. And for that, we are putting in purusharth. Where are we putting in purusharth? In the material world. And that feeling gets transformed into lust, because it comes out, manifests in form of lust, in form of material objects, right? All the things, money, power, fame, all the desires related with the body and senses alone. Now, because divine love is the highest power of God, there's nothing more God can give beyond its divine love. Its perversion in the material realm, the distortion that is happening because it's coming in contact with the material energy, and the erroneous knowledge is taking you further and further into it. This also becomes the most powerful force in the worldly activities. You see, people go crazy after money or after sensual pleasures or after fame or after power. They get intoxicated. They spend their entire life with a, what do you call that, that intoxication. And that force is so powerful that that is all they want to see. Look at some of the people, or their only aim is to add another zero to their bank balance, or their only aim is to go after the sensual pleasures because they think that is all there is to be, right, to be achieved in this world. And this is a very, very powerful force. That is what Krishna is saying, because it is a distorted perverted, or a distorted image of the perfect divine love. It is very powerful, but on the other side, material side. So that is why, unless we give our senses and our mind a higher taste, it will not reject it. It will say, no, I do find thrill and pleasure in it. How can I reject it? That is because it has not gotten exposed to the higher pleasure around it. Now, one may say God should give it just like that, just so that we can taste it and feel attracted towards it. But that's not the intent. God says, you become better and you'll automatically taste it. Otherwise, we'll not have an incentive to become better version of ourselves. So start improving the quality of your mind and start experiencing that relish. And then when you start relishing the higher bliss, automatically you'll start losing interest and taste in lower objects. That is a very natural consequence of it. Somebody who relishes chocolate will not go for neem ki chutney and karele ka achar, right? Unless they have a special appetite for it. So it is a natural consequence of it. So God says the incentive you guys have to experience divine love, or at least start feeling a trace of it, I give you an incentive, you become better version of yourself, you'll start experiencing it. And the day you become perfect, you get everything is there. It's like Dai Bhag means it is your inheritance. I am happy to give it to you and make you like me because I want to share it with you. But the incentive that you have to get that is to become better. You cannot say I need happiness without becoming better. That's not the purpose of this universe, right? Some people get stuck. I need to be happy. This universe is created. I'm the center of the universe, and this whole universe and everybody is created to make me happy, to fulfill my desires. God says, no, that will not do. That is never the purpose of this universe. You will become happy. I want to make you happy, but I want you make you happy by becoming better people. Otherwise, material world will never give you that happiness. So I hope this concept makes sense. It's like when the divine love, the most powerful energy of God, or the most powerful or the topmost prize of God, we are not getting in material world. And when we come in contact with our mode of passion and start looking for it in the material world, that divine love coming in contact with the rajas gun in the material world gives rise to lust. And that lust is equally powerful, but on the other side, not equally, but kind of proportionately powerful on the other side, in the negative side. That's why people get intoxicated in the world itself, right? If we could get pleasures in the world, let's say all of our lust gets fulfilled, do you think anybody has an incentive to become better in this world? Of course not. They will be happy staying here. They will say we will become the damad of God in the material world, right? There are a lot of prisoners who become damad of government in Tihar jail during the winter season. Similarly, our materially conditioned souls will say, we are happy staying here. Thank you, God, for creating this, and getting better can wait. So God says that's of course not the purpose of this creation. So that is why this whole drama that we have to go through, it's worth the wait. But when the destination will come, God says you will say it was worth the wait, and it's well worth it's very well worth it, basically, what we have gone through this entire process. Because divine love is something, when God gives divine love, he becomes enslaved at that point. Okay, so moving on. Now, lust for worldly enjoyment, right? This is where we are getting stuck, right? And this is where we are stuck, and we keep craving for more and more of it. This is a craving that we have. This is the malignant allure sitting within us, and this becomes the cause of the sin. Now, sin seems like a very harsh or a strong word, but if you think about sin, anything that makes us see, there are two extremes to it. One, we are doing bad things. That is a very clear-cut sin. But strictly from a scriptural definition, anything that we are doing which is resulting in binding karma is actually a sin. It's a very strict definition. So basically, only the time when we are doing things which are taking us closer to godly consciousness, or we are doing it for the pleasure of God, then it is a punya. Otherwise, it's a sin. So with the strict definition. But then let's not go with the strict definition. Even in context of this shloka, if you look at it, what God is saying, this lust is so powerful that it becomes the cause of sin. If you want to, when you get preoccupied or obsessed with the object that you think is the goal of your life, you are willing to go to any steps to achieve that. We see people do corruption, or they go to the extent of even harming their family members for property disputes and stuff like that. Why does it happen? It's the lust, that intoxication with getting that object, no matter what it takes. You forget everything. And that is what Krishna is saying is the cause of sin, because it is very powerful force. Once you are hung up in that, my aim is to make money, do this, do this, do that, you will go to any lengths to get that. And even if you are able to draw a line, if you're not doing it for the pleasure of God, it is still a sin by going by the strict definition. So that is how powerful this becomes. So only when our loving propensity goes beyond material and connects with the supreme source can we actually be satisfied. That is the whole idea. Scriptures have told it very clearly. So the mode of passion, it deludes the soul into believing that worldly objects will give satisfaction, and no one creates desires for. So one creates, everyone starts creating desires for acquiring them. It's like, okay, this object will give me happiness. Now I need to acquire it. When we acquire it, then the next pursuit starts, right? We keep shifting the goalposts. Mark Twain had said that there are only two disappointments in life: desiring something and not getting it, and then desiring something and getting it. In both cases, finally, it will lead to a bit of a disappointment and dissatisfaction. Okay, what next? You move on, and then you move on, and you move on, and that mirage continues, not only in this life, but across lifetimes. So that's what our scriptures are telling us. Now, let's continue on this discussion. And then finally, lust manifests in form of a desire, right? Lust, we said that it can manifest in form of craving for money, craving for physical things, craving for power, craving for fame, the different derivatives of the body. And then that desire leads to greed. I need more of it. We don't get satisfied. And when the greed is obstructed, it leads to anger. That is essentially what Lord Krishna is talking about. So even the Ramayana states it basically leads to manas rogs. We don't acknowledge it as an ailment, but our scriptures tell us both of these are manas rogs. Sorry about that. So these are rogues that need to be treated. And how can they be treated? First, we have to acknowledge, God, and then we need to find a right doctor. First of all, we don't acknowledge, we think it's part of our life. It's a sense of entitlement. It's okay, I deserve to get angry, and if I don't feel occupied with something, how will I make progress? Right? We calmly justify it, but our scriptures tell us in strict sense, these are manas rogs that need to be treated. And it can actually make our whole life miserable. We don't realize it, but it is making us miserable from within. Every day it is making us miserable from within because we have created a sense of dissatisfaction in ourselves and taken us further and further away from God. And it is something which is very subtle, intangible, right? We are not seeing that immediate harm around it. But these impressions that are getting formed because of this cycle repeating, desire, anger, lust, all that cycle, that is tormenting us. It's like a, what do you call that, slow poison. And it's tormenting us from within. And we don't recognize this, and that is why we don't even acknowledge it as a disease, so that we don't even try to cure it. We continue to live with it, we make peace with it, make it our perpetual buddies in every life. So scriptures say, no, you don't have to. You can actually systematically tackle it. And again, this process keeps on repeating. Desire is satisfied. I love this when Swamiji explained it for the first time. Yeah, you have a desire. Now, when you have a desire, there can only be two outcomes. You can't suspend a desire. Either your desire will get fulfilled or it will not get fulfilled. When it gets fulfilled, what happens? You have poured more ghee into the fire. Now it will come back double intensity. For a moment, it may seem like you have doused the fire, right? That it happens, but then it will come back with redoubled intensity. That is how it happens. And if your desire is not fulfilled, you become upset, angry. Oh my God, why did I have it? I wish, I could have gotten it like that. So these kind of cycles keep on repeating. And in the process, we keep on accruing more and more binding karma and more sins under the influence of lust, greed, and anger. So greed, anger, and desire. GAD. You give up GAD, you get GOD. Okay, you can remember it that way. Give up GAD to get God. Greed, anger, and desire. Okay. So this is how this process continues to happen in our life. Now let's move on. Greed, anger, and desire. So intensified greed is nothing but the intensified desire. And anger is nothing but a frustrated desire. Whenever we get angry, some desire is stopped by somebody. You can't say I got angry without any desire or an attachment. There has to be a cause for it. If the child is there, mother has to be there as well. So it's a frustrated desire. So it's like this tree. Lord Krishna is directly hitting the root. He's saying labels lust or desire as the root of all the evil. So the root is desire, which is causing all of these things to manifest. And desire, even in Buddhism, it is said, right? There are four truths that he spoke about, four principles, that there is misery in this world, The cause of misery is the desire. You finish the desire and you finish the misery. That is what Buddha said as well. However, in bhakti, you don't finish the desire. You simply dovetail it. You start associating it to the better tastes. So, because finishing it off, it's like it's an unnatural state for our human mind. It's like when you keep on, you are used to moving, which our mind is, and something which is used to moving, and that is its natural state. You put brake to it, like a moving cycle, you will fall off. It will become imbalanced rather than turn the handle on a particular side. So you don't need to finish off your desire, but start purifying your desire. Turn it to a direction that is actually beneficial for you. That is the whole idea. But the key is desire is the cause of anger and greed here. That is what Lord Krishna, and desire and lust, in other words, desire and lust are synonymous, is the cause of all the sins that we do. And that is the reason why we are impelled to do all the sins in this world. And this force is so powerful that it will, even though you know it is bad, you will still be impelled to do that. And why? Because it is a perverted reflection of the highest power of God, which is divine love. Since we are not getting divine love, it is manifesting in form of lust in the material world by coming in contact with the Rajoguna of ours. So this is the process it works. Divine love comes in contact with the material world through Rajogun and it becomes lust. And lust will keep on becoming powerful and powerful because you will not experience that one that will make it 100. You will still say something is still missing. Something is still missing. That aha moment is not coming. So living on 99 will continue until we find divine love. So the sooner we start changing our direction, the better it will be, because then you are starting to align towards that perfect happiness that our soul is craving for. So this is how the process goes. Right? Swamiji beautifully explains in Maharajji's lectures also. He says that it's like you were supposed to go to, Kashmir, and you're walking towards Kanyakumari. So what do? When you come to know about it? You simply change the direction. That's it. Nothing else. When you come to know that my direction is wrong, you change it. You were supposed to go to Delhi and you're going to Kanpur, just change the direction. But we have to be intellectually convinced around that. All right. So with that, let's move on. Now, taking away from the world alone is not enough. If you take your mind away from the world, it's not enough. Okay. It's not enough because your senses will say, I need something. You cannot just negate anything, right? In Hatha Yoga, you say, not this, not that, keep on exercising our willpower and says, okay, I will negate this, I will negate this. No, senses will repel because the seeds are still there, okay, from multiple lifetimes. So that is not enough. It needs to be given something because it's a practice of endless lifetimes. And mind is made up of Maya. So it is spontaneously in love with world. You don't have to teach yourself to get attached to your kids or your family. Do you have to teach yourself? Did our mother tell us, or somebody tell us, you need to love me? No, I mean, it just happens spontaneously because our mind is material, they are material, and we form that bond and associations because they take care of us and stuff like that. Nobody has to teach us. So mind is naturally and spontaneously in love with the world since time immemorial. It is happening automatically. And no matter how much external material we get, we have seen it through our this life experience, and soul has been experiencing it since multiple lifetimes. We are still not getting what we are looking for. Desire is the biggest, and trying to fulfill desire, body became old, but the desire remained young. Okay, this is how the desire works. So desire is a never-ending thing. It will never, you can never quench a desire, our scriptures say, by trying to satiate it, because you can never satiate it. That is how powerful the desire thing is. So there's a beautiful share, right? That खूब खूब तरसाया है तेरी ख्वाहिशों ने ही तुझे, खूब तरसाया है तेरी ख्वाहिशों ने ही तुझे, अब तू भी कुछ ख्वाहिशों को तरसता ही छोड़ दे. So only when we are convinced to leave some of our desires as pending, because we know that okay, you are only going to torment us. but we got to be intellectually convinced. So let them tarasta, and then only we can, progress spiritually. But as long as our intellect will continue to say, no, go for it, it'll give me happiness, it'll give me happiness, it'll keep tormenting us. Okay. So either we experience it and learn it the hard way, or we listen to a wise man and say, okay, I get it. Saints have said that. Let me start doing something different. It's like that, right? There is a wire going through near your house, and a wise man says it is an electric wire. Don't touch it. So one person will say, okay, I trust you and you are wise. I will not. Some will say, I'll touch it, experience it, and then only learn. Both choices are there with us. Okay. You know what can happen when we keep touching the wire time and again. So this is how it goes. Then what do we desire, right? Yesterday we spoke about this concept. If you are a romantic, right? If you're a romantic, we spoke about this. To fall in love with God is the greatest romance. Why? Because God is called Ved Vrit, Ved Vit, and Ved Vedya. He's the one who created the Vedas, manifested the Vedas when this creation came about. He's the only knower of the Vedas. Nobody else can claim to be knowing the Vedas. Why? Because they're pretty intricate, right? Understanding dharma itself, yesterday we were having a discussion. What is the true dharma? What is the proper? We can't know that. Only God is the knower of it. And he's the Ved Vedya also. He's the only person who is the basically the purpose or the eventual, what do you call, the end goal of Vedas as well. So he's the one who created it. He's the one who knows it, and he's the one who's to be known through it. Okay. And if you're a romantic, if you fall in love with God, you are already fulfilling the purpose of the scriptures. Nothing else is needed at that point. Right? That leads us to the next thing, which is the greatest adventure. If you're adventurous, seek him as the greatest adventure. We spoke about it. Why it is adventure? Because that would be the most exciting project you will ever undertake in your life. Very fulfilling, satisfying, with new revelations, experiences, realizations with every passing day. And a very fulfilling experience in that sense. It will not give you that sense of, hey, something is still missing. All that, the disturbed mind or anxiety, fear, and all that stuff will slowly start diminishing. So in that sense, it is very fulfilling. And when we do that, of course, to find him is the greatest achievement. There cannot be any bigger achievement than finding God. So we may have a lot of material acquisitions and stuff like that, but unless we have found God, we have not truly achieved, what we are supposed to achieve. And that is how deep it goes. Yesterday, I told you about that Guru Nanak Dev story. What, this guy used to put a flag in front of his house for every lakh that he had to showcase his wealth. So Guru Nanak Dev had a tutor movement for him. So he sends his disciple and says, give him this needle and tell him, return it to me in the next life. So that guy was blown away. He was like, my goodness, I can't even take this needle to my next life. What am I bragging about here? So the greatest achievement of human life is only to acquire spiritual wealth until it leads us to the eventual realization of God. So we can keep on building our spiritual wealth till we achieve God. And that is the whole purpose, because that is something which is permitted by Yamduts and Yamaraj to be carried forward as a baggage in the next life, because it is sanctioned by God himself. Other than that, everything else remains here only. So to find him is the greatest achievement. So the point here is, again, going back to the topic that we are discussing today, is that, again, a quick recap for the benefit of people who might have joined a little late, is that this slide, that divine love, its perverted reflection becomes lust. Because when through Rajas good, we come in contact with the material objects, then it manifests in form of the cravings of our senses, or craving for the material objects, which could be money, which could be power, which could be fame, or sensual pleasures that we seek. And it is very powerful. We can't underestimate it, because it is a reflection of the highest potency of God, which is divine love. And why it is the highest potency of God? Because God does not have anything more to offer. Because after giving you divine love, he himself becomes your slave. And he himself becomes your slave. And we are also enslaved by lust in that way, because it is a very high potency, but in the opposite direction, and that too contaminated by material power of God. Okay. Or the material, like I explained when milk comes in contact with the bacteria, lactobacillus, it becomes curd. Similarly, because divine love is something which we cannot extract from this world. Now, when you start seeking an equivalent of it through material objects, there's no other thing but lust that will come out of it. Okay, because we are seeking, craving for things, thinking that they are going to give us happiness. So that covers the topic that I wanted to discuss about today. Any questions on that? It's a very important topic. Hope you're able to understand the proper definition of lust and why it is so powerful, why we feel so vulnerable, and why we find ourselves a little helpless and powerless in front of it, and why it is something which is pressing us downwards at every moment of our life. I hope it makes sense. Any questions? Pin drop silence. One will raise hand and then others will.
Perfect example you shared, and we know who the wise man here is. So we all believe you, trust you, follow your wisdom. So we will fire there. I know it's because all of Swamiji and Maharaji, but since here we can't go to them directly, we have you here. So we trust your words, which have come to Swamiji, and we will not touch the lecture outside. We will totally believe you what you say.
Thank you for trusting me, and I can only say yes, I'm trustworthy, at least for this 1 hour. Okay, so thank you so much for reposing faith in me, Shyamji. But I'm telling you, see, it is such a complicated. You try out any other commentary and stuff, you'll not understand. And if you can't explain it simply enough, you have not understood it well enough, is what Swamiji, proving time and again in his commentary. And it's a very complicated concept, but now I think that picture will become very clear. It's perverted reflection of divine love that is tormenting our mind lifetime after lifetime. So we need to put it in perspective and think about coming up with a strategy to give our senses a higher taste, because you can't underestimate it. It is equally as potent, but in the material side. All right.
Yeah. And Joanji has said, thank you so much for covering this topic, I guess. And she also has a hand raised. So in the meantime,
let's take
Sandhya?
a few questions, and we have about 17 minutes. We can make announcements, and let's take a bit of a discussion because it's an important topic. Maybe a couple of questions will do.
Yeah, in the meantime, I will just share an announcement. Since we have family camp coming in July, so we have a special information session on April 15th, 10 a.m. CDT and 7:30 p.m. 8:30 p.m. IST, Saturday. So please join on the same link. We will have your questions answered. We will tell you about what all is there in the family camp, what all happens there, what miracles happens, how well we connect with Swamiji. He's with us day in, day out. We can talk to him freely, meet with him freely, play with him, go around. So please do not miss this opportunity. This is on Saturday, the 15th, 10 a.m. CDT, 8:30 p.m. IST, this Saturday, 15th of April. Thank you so much for listening to me. Sandhya, are you there?
One more announcement I wanted to make because everybody is here. Tomorrow's session will not be there. I'm actually traveling right now. And tomorrow there's something I can't avoid. Okay, we have something related to office coinciding with this, which is what it is. So tomorrow we'll not have, but we'll get back into our routine day after tomorrow. Okay, so one break we'll have tomorrow. Just wanted to let everybody know. And we'll put it in the message also.
It's like Komalji is asking why divine love for God won't consider as desire.
It is a desire, but it is a purifying or a higher level of desire. See, all the things in material world which are not good for us, desire, anger, greed actually become assets when you start dovetailing it in the direction of God. So desire for God is a uplifting, noble desire. So when Patanjali Yoga Sutra or anything scriptures talk about give up Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moh, they are talking about material things, not on the spiritual side. In fact, greed of God is good, very good. Go for it. It will make you malamal. Abhiman, even Hanuman had that, as Abhiman, he said that मैं सेवक रघुपति पति मोरे. He had an abhiman of that part, that I am the sevak of Lord Ram. It is a good thing. And when you have anger in the side of spirituality, that, you know what, I've been hearing these discourses and this knowledge for so long and still I'm not able to improve. You dovetail it towards that direction. It is even becomes your asset. So when you dovetail this, it is actually good for you. I would say have more desire for God. In fact, that desire will lead you to meet God one day, because when the desire will become so powerful that you cannot tolerate it, that if I don't meet God, my life years will go away. That day, God will himself manifest in front of you. So it's a good desire. Go for it. It becomes your asset when you dovetail in the spiritual side.
Well, yeah, thank you so much. Okay.
Yeah.
Joanji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. Like Shamji said, Nitinji, thank you for covering this topic. I find it very, very interesting, and the way you articulated it, it makes so much sense, right? I never thought that we couldn't attain divine love in this material world. And the way you explain it, because we cannot attain it, God's divine love in this material world, it turns into the opposite, the lust and greed and what have you. And I think actually I'm beginning to think that that makes sense. So thank you very much for covering this topic and for explaining and articulating it the way you did, so that it resonated, it makes sense. So thank you. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you, Radhe Radhe.
Let me give you a couple of more analogies around it. See, because we are craving for God's divine love, we are like fish out of water. Now, what we are trying to give fish is not happy because it needs water. What we are trying to give fish is all the jewels and other things. But fish says, I only need water. No matter what to give to the fish, it will still keep craving for that. Or there's a parrot inside a cage and you keep polishing the cage. Parrot says, no, that is not my food. I need something else. So by polishing the cage, you are not satiating the parrot. And the same thing is happening to us as well. What we are doing, we are soul, and what we are giving it is the bodily stuff. It's saying, no, I still need something more. Okay, I still need something more. And that I still need something more makes us repeat in this world again and again and again. And this cycle continues. And in the process, we keep on accruing more binding karma or sin, so to say. So this process is continuing, because the first mistake we have done is we have thought about of ourselves as a body and pursuit of bodily comforts and bodily happiness as the goal of our life. So the fundamental mistake has happened. Thank you for asking that.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. It does make sense. Yeah, thank you so much for covering this topic.
No worries. I see two more hands.
This is a question in chat box. Anamika is asking, how do you overcome heartbreaks in the material world? Or is it better to turn us towards God? I ask because heartbreak leads to sadness and eventually anger.
Your heartbreak leads to sadness and anger because your heart contemplated happiness on the material thing, right? You attach, who formed the attachment? You repeatedly contemplated happiness on that particular object. And when that did not happen, it became a heartbreak. So asking for happiness or expecting happiness from this world or a relationship is like a beggar asking another beggar for money. Can it get money? It cannot. It's just a matter of time before you will get disappointed. Okay, you may have a honeymoon period in every relationship, but it can last for only so long. Why? Not because the other person is bad, because they are incapable of giving you what you are truly looking for, because they also don't have it. Right? Every beggar is saying, hey, come, I'll give you money. That is a false thing. And you fall for that trick. And then finally there is a heartbreak. So if you really want to have a heartbreak, why not have it for God? Right? He's your true sambandhi. He's your true well-wisher. He's the one who's been supporting us. Why not fall in love with God and experience that heartbreak and see how that heartbreak is uplifting as opposed to bringing in sadness? Even when you have yoga of God, our scriptures say the bliss that you will experience is much more than when you meet God. Now experience it on the other side and convince your intellect that what you were seeking was on the wrong direction with the wrong people. Now let me play satta or gamble on God for a change. That heartbreak itself is a problem, right? But it may be a blessing in disguise, because The irrevocable principle of spirituality is something that you can contemplate happiness on deeply will eventually lead you to disappointment. The same thing will disappoint you. So it's just a matter of time. What you've experienced, I would say it's a blessing in disguise, as long as you get the learning out of it and say, this is how it was supposed to happen. Maybe it's a signal for me now to dovetail it in a different direction. But if you keep on contemplating happiness in material things, you will keep on experiencing heartbreak and you'll keep on becoming sad. And that is where spirituality helps to look at it in perspective and channelize it in a direction which is beneficial for you. I hope that answers.
Anyway, thank you so much. I guess it answers her question.
Okay.
Sanjay, are you-
Fill out the feedback tracker if you have a follow-up question around it, because we have limited time, right? So we may not go into. So please do put your question in feedback tracker, or we can have some offline conversation as well. Yes, let's take a few more hands.
Sunilji, Radhe Radhe. Sunilji.
Oh, yeah, Radhe. I didn't see that I had been
Radhe Radhe,
unmuted. Sorry. Yeah, so I had a question. So, I mean, I had heard this before too, whatever we have in the material realm is like a reflection of what's in the spiritual realm, or like say perverted reflection. So if you see, the material realm is run by Sattvagun, Rajagun, and Tamagun, right? That's the principle what runs material, whole material phenomena. And so the divine realm is run by Satchidananda. So what does that mean when we say whatever is in the material realm is the perverted reflection of divine realm? Do you mean because the Sattva, Raja, Tama, Guna and Satchidananda, they are not same, they are not even reflection of one another. So when we say material realm, like the experience or something in the material realm is the perverted reflection of the spiritual realm, that means like the Sattva, Raja, Tama, Guna is like a reflection of Satchidananda?
No, I mean,
how can that be?
There are 3 and 3. So in that sense, you may have drawn that correlation. I can cross-check it with Swamiji. Is it a reflection of that only? But I haven't at least come across any video or any commentary which says there is a one-on-one mapping between the two. Now, spiritual realm, yes, it's Satchidanand because it's eternal, ever fresh and unlimited. In material realm, it is the different, it's never the case. Is there a direct correlation between these 3? I don't know. But when I say perverted reality, that means it is a poor reflection of, even if you look at it, we have a form, God also has a form. We are made up of Panch Mahabhut, he's made up of bliss, this Satchidanand, right? I don't know how it touches. So everything is different there, right? And when I say perverted reality means now you are seeking something, but since you are not able to get it, it takes on a different form altogether. And that takes your mind to do things which are binding for you. And that's what our scriptures are saying. You can actually align it to a direction which takes you closer to the goal, as opposed to taking you further and further away from it. But what perverted reality means, I think there's another shloka I'll take up. It's further down in Bhagavad Gita where it talks about a tree. Okay.
Okay, yeah, brother. Yeah.
Right?
You mean like the Aswat tree? Yeah.
Ashwat, tree. So we can talk about that shloka in more detail because it's not a 5-minute conversation.
Yeah.
Let's say it's a poor reflection of that, right? When Brahmaji created the creation, finally he created somebody like us in God's image. We are in God's image, but poor reflection of him, right? We are not as perfect as him. We are made up of Panch Mahabhut. He's made up of that. And then he said, what this interesting creation will do, he gave us 2 stomachs. One that gets satiated with food and the other here, which never gets satiated, so that we are occupied. And now he's given us Rajogun, where it propels us to action. And with this Rajogun, instead of doing Purusharth, Paramarth, we started seeking things on the opposite direction to satisfy ourselves. And that is where the plot has thickened and this whole game started evolving. But yeah, good question, Sunilji. We can have more discussion on this topic when we get to that shloka. Maybe I can pull it up in one of the sessions and have more elaborate discussion on it. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. Nakabu is asking, among these 3, the desire, greed, and anger, which one produces attachment?
Desire. It leads to repeated. When you desire, basically there's a innate desire for happiness. And then you see this person will give me happiness, or this house, or this object. Start repeating it in your mind. That leads to attachment. I think that's how the cycle goes. Or attachment leads to desire, basically. One of these 2. and you keep on repeating it, now you're forming some neural channels around it that, okay, I need it because I'll get happiness from this. Now there are two possibilities. Either that desire, attachment, once it is formed, it leads to desire. I think it's the other way around. It will get fulfilled or it will not. And when it is fulfilled, it will lead to greed. And when it is not fulfilled, it will lead to anger. So desire is the mother of both anger and greed, right? Kamat krodho vichayate. Calm is what leads to krodh, and calm is what leads to greed as well.
Thank you so much. Sandhya, you have a hand raised. Sandhya,
Shaji,
are you okay?
okay, we have 4 minutes, maybe 2 more we can take.
Vidusha ji? Yeah.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe Manisha ji.
Yeah, before today's session, I used to think if some desire or wishes left unfulfilled, then it might be a hurdle in our spiritual journey. So, is it something like that? So, like
No.
during last times, if
The Bhautikvadi or Mayavadi people will say, fulfill all your desires so that there are no desire left. Scriptures say fulfilling a desire is never a good strategy because it will never get fulfilled. Right? That शेर we said, खूब तरसाया है तेरी ख्वाहिशों ने तुझे, अब तू ही कुछ ख्वाहिशों को तरसता ही छोड़ दे. But तरसता ही छोड़ दे के लिए, for you to leave some of your desires hanging or suspended, it will take a lot of intellectual conviction to say it is worth it. Otherwise, if it becomes your secret stash, you may have to take another life. God, like an indulgent father, will say, hey, you think your desire did not get fulfilled, and you think if it was fulfilled, you would have become happy. Be my guest. Try it again. Okay, he's like an indulgent father in that sense. So it's
actually
important
it happened.
to neutralize
Actually,
it
it
with knowledge.
happened.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's important to neutralize it with conviction by giving it a higher taste so that you don't even care about that desire anymore. But if that desire is becoming your secret stash, you have already dig a well for yourself to keep repeating multiple times and keep on feeling disappointments and keep on many more desires. It's like an infinite loop that we are creating. Okay, maybe last one now. Manisha ji, hope I answered your question. Maybe one more tea can take. Preeti ji is there, and then we can wrap up our session because we have a hard stop at 10.
Ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. So attachment leads to desire, right? So it's important not to let the mind get attached to materialistic things, and that's what leads to desire, and fulfilled desire turns into greed, and non-fulfilled turns into anger. So the root cause is not the desire, but the root cause is the attachment, right?
Right. That's right.
Yeah.
That's true. And that cycle keeps on repeating in our life, right?
Right. And also the subconscious mind gets used to all these patterns from past lives or this life. And so even if we don't want to stay attached, I guess the mind sometimes without the knowledge just keeps doing what is not right. True.
It needs something to work with. It's a jinn out of the bottle, right? Genie out of the bottle. It needs something. It needs something. You cannot just leave it idle. So, and that is what our scripture is telling. Give it something better, which is good for it. Right now, it is habituated to going for things which are not good for it because of lifetimes of practice, like you rightly pointed out, PTG. With that, yeah, thank you so much. So with that, we come to the end of today's session. I look forward to seeing you day after tomorrow. Again, a reminder, tomorrow's session will not be there. So Radhe Radhe from my side, over to you, Sunil Bhai and Ajay, if you're there. And thank you again for your enthusiastic participation, like you always do. And I'll see you in day after tomorrow. Thank you. Radhe Radhe from